My name is Dr. John Gallagher, and I am Michael's father. And Mike hasn't announced anything yet, and he's already made his first political mistake by giving me the microphone. My job is to introduce the family, but I figure that gives me a little wiggle room. First off, not present here today is Mike's mother, Jackie, and my wife, Marilyn, who are with us via Twitter feed because they had commitments they couldn't get out of in other states. To my right is Virginia Justice, Mike's grandmother on his mother's side, and the backbone and the matriarch of the Gallagher family, my mother and Mike's grandmother, Mary Lou Gallagher. To my left is Mike's sister, Dr. Katie Gallagher. She works in Oconomowoc as an obstetrician-gynecologist. She's a real doctor, as opposed to Mike. And the grandkids, Caden and Cora, and Caden is going to help me introduce his Uncle Mike. First, I'd like to say I was comfortably retired a week ago, and for the second time in his life, Mike didn't listen to his father about career choices. The first time was 10 years ago. He called me up from Princeton and said, "Dad, I just want you to know I'm going to join the Marines." Well, that led to a rather vigorous discussion that went nowhere for me. And 3 months later, he was in Green Bay, and I was able to take him out to dinner. And I said, "Mike, I know you're too old for me to tell you what you have to do now. But as your father, I have a right to know, I think, why you're doing it." And he looked at me and he said, "Dad, you name one job that I can get coming right out of college where 100 young men and women's life depend on my skill and intelligence, and I will take it. Otherwise, I'm going to join the Marines." So my hope is that over the next 3 months, as you get to know Mike, you will realize what I realized that night, that we are blessed to have somebody who has that rare ability to want to serve his country and his fellow citizens more than he wants to serve himself. And my hope is that sometime during his life, he starts listening to his father. So, Caden, are you ready to introduce your uncle to this crowd? You want to tell him why you came to Green Bay today?
Because Uncle Mike told me to, and I like Mike.
Okay, would you like to tell them what Uncle Mike is going to do?
He's going to be president.
Okay, I guess he just made his second political mistake, giving the microphone to a 5-year-old. Here you go, Kate. Why don't you ask Uncle Mike to come up and introduce him to the crowd?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the greatest uncle in the universe, Uncle Mike.
Wow. That is an impossible and impossibly cute act to follow. I'm blown away by the crowd that we have here today. This is incredible. I'm honored, I'm humbled that all of you would make time on a Sunday to come out here for this day. And I especially want to thank my family for being here, my family for their love and for their support. This incredible family, this community, the values of this state shaped me into the person that I am. My family taught me the value of hard work, of faith in God, service to country, that there's no higher calling than helping others and serving your community. And that's why 10 years ago, I decided to join the Marine Corps, the day I graduated from college, to serve my country, to pay back a debt I felt I owed to this community, a debt I felt I owed to my family. And in the course of 2 deployments to Iraq, 7 years on active duty, 3 years in the intelligence community, and a year and a half on the Foreign Relations Committee, I saw the best and worst of what we can do as a nation. On the best, I saw 19-year-old Lance Corporals at the tip of the spear, young men and women from communities just like this, do incredible things with minimal guidance, accomplish the mission by engaging their brains before they engage their weapons. I saw tribal leaders in Iraq. I saw local policemen willing to risk their lives because they felt that the United States of America, the greatest country in the history of the world, had their backs. I think about how my experience in Iraq ended.
not on a battlefield, but in a classroom. In a classroom in Rawa, a town in western Iraq, delivering supplies, books, and soccer balls to kids. Kids that a year ago couldn't even walk to school because they were afraid of bullets, of bombs, and bad guys. But now they were studying in safety. They were studying and trying to rebuild their entire country through education, studying in that small classroom as if the entire future of that country depended upon the effort. And then I watched 3 years later as President Barack Obama and his Secretary of State Hillary Clinton flushed all our hard-won gains down the drain. They abandoned that country, they abandoned those people, and they created a vacuum that our enemies filled, that Iran and ISIS filled. And I've concluded that all of our problems, all the enemies that we face, foreign and domestic, have one thing in common. They are symptoms of the exact same disease. And that is a complete lack of leadership and moral courage from career politicians and unelected bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. The country we love is slowly slipping away because people in Washington care more about their next paycheck, about ascending to the next higher office, than they do about service to country, than they do about the future of our republic. And I know that sounds dire. I know that sounds dire. And I know every 4 years we go through this process. But if you don't believe me, just look at the numbers. Look at the facts. I want you all to try and keep the following three numbers in your head at the same time. 65, 2021, and 22. 65, 2021, and 22. 65% of Americans think that we're headed in the wrong direction. 65% of Americans think that our future will not be as bright as our past. 2/3 of our countrymen think we're headed in the wrong direction. That's tragic. 2021, that's 5 years from now. In 5 years, we will be spending more money to service our national debt than we will be spending on national defense. Think about that. We will be spending more money on interest payments, most of which goes abroad, than we will be spending to defend ourselves against those who want to destroy our way of life. That's why the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mike Mullen, said that debt is the biggest national security threat that we face. That's why General Mattis recently reminded us that no nation in history has been able to maintain its military power while failing to keep its fiscal house in order. And 22 is the most grave of all those numbers. On this day in America, as on every single day in America, 22 veterans will take their own lives. That's a suicide every 65 minutes by brave men and women, many of whom survived combat abroad, only to perish here at home because systems failed, because we failed as a nation to serve them as they served us. I think about these numbers, I think about my own experience, and I have to ask myself, is this the conduct of a great nation? Is this the type of future that we want to lead to the next generation? Is this the standard of leadership and performance that we're willing to accept? Well, I refuse to accept that standard of mediocrity. We should not accept a future in which our politicians continue to get pushed around on the world stage while accomplishing nothing for our citizens who are hurting here at home. We should reject a future in which a broken tax code and an out-of-control regulatory environment slowly strangles the middle class and with it, the American dream. I reject a future in which a broken immigration system continues to reward those who do it the wrong way while making it hard for those who want to do it the right way. And a porous border threatens our safety and our sovereignty as a nation. I refuse to accept a future in which the federal government increasingly meddles in our daily life and threatens the constitutional liberties that we have fought and bled for. A future in which we continue We can't accept a future in which we bankrupt this country, we send the bill to the next generation, and that generation loses a sense of how special it is to be an American, what it means to be an American citizen. We need leaders in this country. The people of the 8th District deserve leaders who are willing to fight every single day to protect our rights and the greatness of this country. Leaders who will put service to country ahead of selfish ambition. We need a new generation of leaders who will work tirelessly to fix problems and restore our country's strength. And that's why today I am announcing that I am running to serve you in Wisconsin's 8th Congressional District.